Dave Gardy here live on the show floor of FOSSE here in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Convention Center. And with me is Mr. Steve Glazier, who is with the firm of K&L Gates. Thank you for joining us today. And he focuses on patent and technology. He represents numerous companies in the internet and technology space, and something that's of real interest to the people here on the show floor, especially in the communications industry, really interested to talk to you about the latest impact of the patents on shareholder value in the IP communication space. Can you give us an overview of what's going on for that and what you've seen maybe in the industry recently?
Well, the big news in this decade, since the 90s, is that patents, in fact, are having a direct impact on shareholder value in equity transactions, in the negotiation of price and terms of equity transactions. In the 80s, in the 90s, the financial community was much less sensitive to analysis of patent portfolios, but now there's more and more big patent cases like the BlackBerry case, which was a life and death issue for that company, that it's made the press and developed an increasing sensitivity to that kind of thing. So we're finding that patent due diligence now, rather than being just a routine checklist item for closing, is becoming more an early issue that impacts price and terms and can in fact force closings to happen on equity transaction deals that may not have otherwise closed. We're talking about IPOs, M&A, A round, B round, C round equity transactions.
So what are companies doing now for strategies to market areas with products and services when they're considering patent strategies?
Well, that's another interesting impact of that, is that in the product marketing cycle for products and services in the telecom area, patent due diligence is now part of the sales cycle. Because if a product has some exposure to patent infringement from competitors, not only the vendor is exposed to liability, but the buyer of the product is potentially exposed to liability. So when you have big, deep pocket commercial buyers like a Fortune 500 company, the patent due diligence on the defensive side becomes part of their analysis of who they select as a vendor. And this is new for big software systems or telecom services. And therefore, selling the patent story and the patent portfolio story is now part of the sales cycle for companies in this space. And that's new.
That is new. Now, on the other side, when you get into trends in patent applications and enforcement litigation, what's happening in that area?
Well, it's interesting. Because of the impact on financing and the impact on sales, it's backed into much more activity in the patent application area and an enforcement area. Basically, the mantra now is patent early, patent often, enforce the patents that you get, build up an investment-grade patent portfolio and a patent story, and then sell that story at the transaction points for equity transactions or product sales where you need to communicate the story. Build the story with more patent applications and developing a portfolio. Build the story with enforcing it so you have a reputation of actually pulling the trigger when you have to. And then get the news out so people understand that, so you get some real impact on your bottom line from it.
Where's the patent office going with telecom-related patent office? I mean, the telecom industry is kind of in a state of flux. How's it happening there?
That's really interesting. In this space, the volume of patent applications and business down at the patent office is booming. Patents are they're cheap crown jewels. They're worth a lot of money. They can be life or death for particular product niches and reallocate product share, but they're really relatively cheap compared to the amount of market share they can move around. So they're getting a lot of business down there. As a result, certain areas of the patent office are becoming they're sagging under the weight of the increased workload, and they're having an issue with staffing up to meet this workload. As a result, the patent application process is slowing down. We have longer wait times. There's some controversy about the quality of the patent examination for applications, and patents to get them through the application process is becoming a more expensive, time-consuming activity. But they're worth so much when you can get a valuable patent that the benefit-cost analysis is still is excellent. There's a great return on investment in this area, so the work continues booming. As a result, you get a patent office which is staffing up. It's getting bigger and trying to meet that load. We're in a transitional phase with that, and we'll just see how long it takes for them to catch up with their workload.
It's a good sign, though.
It is a good sign. They are basically suffering from their own success. They're putting out a nice product, so a lot of people want it.
Now, we've heard a lot about patent trolls in the industry. What's that all about? What's happening there?
Well, a patent troll it's a slang term for a company that buys patents and enforces them, but is not in the business of selling the product or service. They're just in the patent business.
Just buy a whole shell company that has some patents but nothing else and just start deploying it.
Right. They generally do not make their own patent applications. They don't do their own research. They don't make the product. Traditionally, they got started buying patents from dead .coms, for example. And they pick up the pieces and try to license them. It's an interesting development. We don't represent patent trolls. We just defend companies in business against patent trolls, and they are just part of the business environment now, and they're not going away. That business will evolve. There's been some response on the development of the law that has changed some of the advantages that patent trolls may have had in the litigation arena, but they're there. They're not going away. They're part of the business environment, and you have to deal with them. That's the bad news. The good news is they can be dealt with. They can be dealt with.
And some of these companies are public companies.
Yeah, that's interesting. There are some that, one particularly well-known one that actually went public and raised $50 million in an IPO to buy patents and enforce them. You can buy stock in it. You can read their annual report if you can figure out their financials.
Are there any more patent trolls in the telecom side, more so proportionally than in another sector?
The trolls some of them tend to be specialized and are specifically created to exploit a particular opportunistically selected portfolio. Some of them are completely without focus. They'll pick up any portfolio that looks good to them, and a few of them with the money are developing a diverse, disconnected portfolio of a couple hundred patents. We'll see where that goes. They come in different flavors. Mostly they tend to focus on one portfolio or one industry just because there's knowledge barriers to entry to understand what they're dealing with, to understand the technology.
Very interesting perspective from a gentleman, of course, who's very involved in the patent space and has to navigate this. From K&L Gates, senior partner Steve Glazier here on the floor of Fosse, and a lot of companies are listening to this, interested in exactly what it means, even in the federal sector and also in the telecom sector. I think we'll probably repurpose the same information for our Vaughn TV channel, but thank you for joining us here on FedEd TV as part of Fosse. Steve Glazier. We'll be back more from the show floor of Fosse here in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Convention Center. I'm Dave Gardy. Stay tuned for more.